What fuels self-improvement and personal development? I'll tell you exactly what they are in this podcast episode. So have you ever stopped and asked yourself, what is it that forces people or pushes people to wake up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym? Or what is it that helps people to go through a failure and show up the next day, right? Whether it be something in their business, their personal life, or even in their careers. Like, have you ever stopped to wonder, like, how does someone get so motivated to keep going again and again and again? What pushes them to further develop themselves, test their limits, and see what they're capable of, see what they're made of, essentially? You know, I've always wondered about that. And what I've seen from athletes is that they're often pushed by something deeper than the rewards. You know, what tends to happen for a lot of people is that they ask themselves, what would I gain if I do this thing? So it can be, what can I gain if I go to the gym? What can I gain if I start a business? What can I gain if I were to go out there and start trying to date again, right? It's all about gaining something on the external. But what you start to see is that there's something deeper that pushes these people. And that's why they're able to move past, let's say, some of the downfalls, some of the, let's just say, tough days when they're not actually obtaining the goals, when they're not obtaining the results that they're looking for. There's something that's pushing them a little bit more than the person that is more goal focused. And that's what we're going to talk about in this podcast episode. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you 5 reasons and 5 ways, rather, that helps you to be able to find that fuel to get the personal development and the personal changes, right? The self-development that you're looking for. And that's all going to be wrapped into this podcast episode. So what I want you to do is go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss a single episode. Because again, I share the same gems that I share in my therapy sessions in these episodes. So with that being said, let's get to point number 1. So believe it or not, one of the things that pushes people, that fuels people to improve themselves, to get that personal development that they're looking for, is actually pain. It's the pain of loss, it's the pain of regret, it's the pain of just missing out on things, right? So when you think about pain, it's one of the 2 motivating factors that gets us to do things. The other one is pleasure. And if you're an entrepreneur and you know about copywriting, you know that a lot of times your headlines and the copy should have some type of pain-based influence or tone when you're writing, so that when the reader is reading it, they kind of feel something that pushes them. And it's because a lot of us are motivated by pain. For me, a lot of my motivation comes from the pain of not having when I was growing up. So not having enough money, not having enough clothes, not having enough shoes or food to eat, or whatever it is that you may want to call it. By going through that, it actually pushed me to go get my master's degree, start a business, and even invest in myself in the levels that I've been investing lately. It's because I do not want to go back through that pain again. It was just so uncomfortable. You know, for you listening right now, you may experience or have experienced something like jealousy, depression, trauma, anxiety, heartbreak, sickness, grief, loss, like so many different things. And what you're doing right now is that you're using that pain to actually motivate you to listen to this podcast even more. You're actually using that pain to actually find the resources and the answers to help ensure that you don't go through what you're going through again, or to help you manage some of the pain that you're going through. This is actually why a lot of people reach out to me for therapy. It's not because everything's going good in their life. It's because one night they just couldn't take it anymore. And they told themselves, hey, I need help. I can no longer do this on my own. And that's the thing that pushes people. It's when they're going through some type of pain that they feel is so unbearable that they need help with it. And this is so important because it actually allows us to normalize pain being a part of our life, being a part of our experience. Because a lot of people see pain as something that they need to avoid. But in actuality, pain, as I stated, it can actually fuel your self-improvement and your personal development when you're forced to make a change, when you're forced to go and chase a goal that you've been procrastinating all your life. When your back is up against the wall, that pain is going to get you off of that wall and propel you into action. So again, one of the first things is actually pain. The second thing that fuels self-improvement and personal development is actually FOMO. For a lot of people, they look on internet, whether it's, let's say, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever it is, and they see all the things that some of their peers or some of the people that they follow have in their life. So this can be the nice cars, clothes, the nice house, the big fat bank statements. I could even say the body, right? So I think what's getting more popularized is people being slim, going to the gym, and what's being shamed or looked down upon is, people that are, I'm gonna just say overweight. And I can make another topic about this, because what is overweight? You'll be surprised what people deem as overweight. And actually, I believe it was Forbes magazine that stated that today more than ever, teens are more anxious about their weight than any other generation before them. All right, so again, I just want to point out how significant that is. But one thing that fuels people to take action is this fear of missing out, is FOMO. They believe that there's something out there that they don't want to miss out on. And this can actually be used as a good thing, because I can put a twist on this and say, there's a life out there that you could have, should have, and actually will have if you take the actions that are scaring you right now. And what's more fearful, right? So going back to FOMO, what's something you should be more afraid of is not necessarily like the actions that you're going to take, but it's not having the life that you should have. And that's again where FOMO starts to play out. And we see this a lot actually with urgency and scarcity, which we see a lot of marketers use. Even if you're, let's say, looking for a house or you're trading stocks and things like that, we've seen a lot of people take bad action whenever FOMO is present, when they have this fear of missing out on something that is good. So I want to just point out that this fear can push you to do good things, but also can push you to do not so good things. Actually make mistakes that may be to your detriment, if you will. So FOMO is the second way to fuel your self-development, to fuel your personal development. And again, it's because you have this life that you've seen and you don't want to miss out on it. All right, the third point that I want to make actually comes from a Solomon Asch study. So the Solomon Asch study was a lying study that they did where they had one participant come into a room amongst 10 other people. Now, these other 10 other people, they knew what was going on and what the experiment was about. So the only other person that didn't know what was going on was the new person that came into the room. So what happened was that this new person came into the room and they all sat down in a circle. And what the instructor did was the instructor showed a sign and he asked them which line is the same line as the other three lines, okay? And I'm gonna try to break this down and make it easy for you guys to get a grasp of what I'm saying. So you had line A, right, which was the original line. And they showed them three other lines on the board. So you had a small line, you had a medium-sized line, and then you had a big line. And what they asked was, which line is the same size as the original line? All right, so it's pretty simple to see that, the original line, if it's a small line, it should match the same small line that's on the board with the other three lines, right? So what would happen was that the participant who was new, he would look at the lines and he would clearly say, oh, the first line is the same line as the original line, right? And so everybody said yes. And they kept doing this over and over and over again. But what started to change was that eventually the other members started to intentionally give the wrong answer. But more importantly, they all gave the same wrong answer. So maybe I should break this down with numbers. So they would say, well, what's 1 plus 1? And clearly the answer is 2. So the original guy, he would say it's 2. But everybody else in the room would say 3. And what would happen is over the course of time, the new participant would eventually just give up. And what I mean by give up was that he would just simply say the wrong answer because everybody else gave the wrong answer. So if he said, or if the instructor asked what's 5 plus 5, and if everybody said 13, he would just simply say 13. Why am I saying this? Why is this study so important? The study is important because it shows the power of conformity. It also shows the power of your social setting, of your circle, of your group. And this is something that fuels self-improvement, because when you're in a group of people that are succeeding at a high level, it's going to push you to find out why they're succeeding and get on that bandwagon. It's going to force you to show up in ways that you haven't showed up before. So we've all heard the saying, Your network is your net worth. If you hang around 5 broke people, you're going to be the 6th. If you hang around 5 millionaires, you're going to be the 6th. So it's all about your circle. And that is the third point that I want to make. What pushes you to find that motivation to improve your life comes from the circle that you find yourself in. Main point number 4, this one is all about your values. So values are so important because it serves as the motivation that's going to get you from point A to point B. So between point A and point B, there's a gap. And we know this to be known as the journey. The 2 destinations is point A and point B, right? This is where you are and this is where you want to be. But what has more space is the journey, the gap between the 2. That has more, we could call it real estate, if you will. You know, goals and values are 2 totally different things, even though they work in conjunction with one another. When you're focused on your goals, you will rob yourself of the happiness and the joy that comes with the journey of accomplishing that goal, because goals will only provide momentarily fulfillment, right? Temporary fulfillment. When you're following your values, that is something that will be lifelong. And it's also something that you can easily access in the moment. Being able to accomplish a goal like having, let's say, $10 million in the bank, or in terms of $10 million in your portfolio, whether it be stocks or real estate or whatever the case it may be, man, for some, that could take decades. But the value of investing, the value of curiosity, the value of learning, that is something that you can access right now, and it will help you to continue on that journey when you hit some roadblocks, right? When you have some bumps in the road. So your values are very big and it pushes you. Now, something else that's important when it comes to the values is that when we are unaligned with our values, we start to feel inauthentic. And that inauthenticity, right, or being unauthentic, it wears on us and it causes us to feel a little off, maybe a little sad, a little, let's say, stressed, if you will. And the reason why is because we know what's right for us. But when we have an image that's in our mind that doesn't match what's in our reality, that disruption, that contradiction, it wears on us and it becomes a little bit like an itch, if you will. And what we want to do is we want to scratch that itch. We want to get rid of that itch. And the best way to do that is to align ourselves with our values, to get that image that's in our mind and to help it match what's in our reality. And this is how your values will push you. Because again, if you have a value such as, let's say, leadership or independence, you may find yourself applying for future roles or promotions within your job, or even just simply starting your own business. But if that is not something that you're doing, but you value it, you'll find yourself feeling a little depressed because you're not living the life that you know you should. And that depression, that sadness, as I stated in point number 1, that pain, it will actually push you to develop yourself. It'll push you to improve yourself and to improve your life. Main point number 5, the last point, and before I give it, just a reminder, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. And also, you can click the link in my bio and join my newsletter. My newsletter is where I drop even more gems that will help you to change your life. And I do it in under 3 minutes. So with that being said, main point number 5, the 5th thing that fuels your self-improvement and your personal development is your future self and the clarity that you have about them. So what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes and I want you to imagine the type of money you want to be making 5 years from now. I want you to imagine the type of career or business that you would have. I want you to close your eyes and to imagine the type of lifestyle that you will have 5 years, 10 years from now. I want you to get that image. And what's more important, I want you to really get the image of the person that is experiencing all of that stuff. So when you look at this person, what do you see? Do you see someone that's confident, someone that's disciplined? Do you see someone that's able to accomplish a goal no matter what comes their way? So in other words, someone that's persistent. Is these the things that you see? What I want you to do, whenever you find yourself feeling stuck, I want you to imagine that person coming to the right here, right now, present moment and being your coach, being that person that you need in your ear to get you out of this stuckness, right? Being out of this slump and getting you to take one more action today, getting you to take one more step forward. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help you to bring your future self to the present so that you can take that present person, right, and move forward so that you can meet this future version of yourself. Because what's going to fuel you is having clarity on your vision, having clarity on the life that you want to live, clarity on who you see yourself being. And what we want to do is we want to be that future version of ourselves today. When you have that person with you, you will feel that you have all the support you need, all the clarity you need in order to go from point A to point B. But if you lack that clarity, if you don't know who this person is, or if you believe 5 years, 10 years from now, that person is going to mimic and be the same person you are today, well, you're not going to have that much motivation to actually improve yourself, to read that book, to sign up for that course, or to pay for that coaching program. It's because you feel like you're going to be here anyway, so why even bother? So get clarity on your future self and start to ask them for advice. Ask them, what do you think I should do? And listen to them. And trust me, they will lead you in the right direction. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna summarize the 5 main things that actually fuels your self-improvement and your personal development. And the first thing that I mentioned was pain, okay? And again, we know this to be true because us as humans, we are motivated by pain or pleasure. The second point that I gave was that FOMO, so your fear of missing out. Your fear of missing out on the life that you know you should be living. Your fear of missing out on the things that maybe you see other people have. And this is actually why jealousy is actually I don't want to say a good thing, but it could be something that helps show you what you care about in life. Because jealousy actually has a little bit of admiration sprinkled in there. There's something that you're admiring, but also you're mad that you don't have that thing that you're admiring. So this is where jealousy comes in. So FOMO, fear of missing out. The third thing that fuels your improvement is the circle that you're in. And I talk about this with the line test. It was by Solomon and Ash, okay? The fourth point is your values. And whenever we feel that we're unaligned, we're being authentic or inauthentic rather. And that is something that will almost like rub us so bad that we feel like we have to get this thing in order. We have to get in alignment. And again, it's kind of like an itch that you gotta scratch. And the fifth, you need to make sure that you're clear on your future self, okay? Make sure you have clarity on who they are and bring them to meet you today and give you advice. Listen to them. And when you're stuck, when you're going through something, ask yourself, what would my future self say to me about what it is that I'm going through today? Lean on them for advice and go with it, all right? In other words, I'm trying to ask, or what I'm trying to tell you is to go with your gut. Trust your intuition, and you'll find the way. So this is Coach Wells. I'm a licensed therapist, and thank you for checking out this podcast.